Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Gene Ho. Gene, thank you for joining Discuss Your Truth. You've been on once before. It's been a couple of years.
Yes, and you know what? During that time, look what has happened to America. It has gone downhill. The first time I talked to you, you could already see it happening, but it's happening even more. The difference is with us in America, we need to stand up even more than ever to the truth.
Okay, so Clay, and I was just talking to Dr. Janet, right?
Okay.
And Clay, if we go back to Tulsa.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Clay's first event. We go back to Tulsa. This was at the kind of the heat of the lockdown, in the middle of the lockdown, and we've got the onslaught of this vaccine. Of course, you're working for the president. You're working for the president.
No, I was President Trump's photographer for 2015 and 16. So I seen him go into office. I seen Donald Trump do what he did for America, and then I seen it go into decline. So, we're seeing America fall apart in real time.
Okay. Clay's movement, really, in my view, was the pinnacle, the spear, the head of spear towards this globalist regime. In your view, Gene, what is the motive of this globalist machine? What are they doing in the United States? What do they want from people like you and me?
Here's the thing. I don't think it's so much about me worrying about what other people are doing. For me, I worry about what I'm doing. You worry about whatever you're doing and so forth. But what we need in America is for people to stand up and say, this is truth, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm supporting. It's when people stay silent, that's when the problem is going to be. So I get it. There's problems all over the country and everything. But if we are afraid to stand up for what we believe, quite frankly, if we're afraid to stand up for Jesus Christ, if we're going to cower in our own ways, America is toast. And what we need to do, and this is what these reawakening tours are about, is just saying, listen, there's a lot of people standing up for the truth, and it's a way for, I call it, for God's children to get to know one another.
The United States is the bastion for free thinkers such as that, right? The United States is founded upon the principles of free speech, free press. Let's not forget freedom of religion, right? But that is under attack today, and these Judeo-Christian principles that set the stage for the founding. Well, it just so happens that in 2023, we're that last bastion of strength on the planet. Really, I mean, I can't think of another country out there where, and it doesn't simply reside with Americans, because this is an international issue where people must stand up for their freedoms. But what makes the United States, in your view, what makes America, what makes it that special place on the planet, in your view?
No, it goes back to this. It goes back to the American people and the American way. Somewhere along the line, whether it was the media, whether it was politicians or whatever, they made people ashamed to believe in conservative values. That is at the core of it, is what's going on in America. We need to let people know that, listen, these are our principles, these are our conservative principles, this is our faith, and not be ashamed of it. And for a while there, people were ashamed of it. It was like, oh, wait, you know what? The media doesn't want us to believe a certain way, and if not, then we're labeled as bigots, and that's not what we need in America.
You do what you've been doing. You do all the stops for Clay typically.
Yeah, I'm on. There's two things I'm doing right now. I'm a speaker on Clay Clark's tour. The people that go to this is absolutely amazing, and I'm the editor-in-chief of George, the magazine. So basically, if you go to georgemagazine.com, you'll see it. It's the same. We have the same trademark that used to be held by JFK Jr. So that's what we're doing, and we publish stories about Americans, quite frankly, whether they're on the left or the right, but we're trying to unite America.
George was founded by
JFK Jr.
JFK Jr. And why did he find that? What was the vehicle that he wanted it to be?
You know what? What JFK Jr. did back then is he featured people, Americans. Of course, as you know, he featured Donald Trump. Donald Trump on the cover of one, or actually several of them. The ones that we have right now, we feature Donald Trump, and we're in Trump Doral. And I mean, a lot of people want to read about different people, not only in our movement, but they also want to read about other people that might have a different viewpoint. We don't shy away from that. If a person believes a certain way, we want to hear it, because that's the same exact thing that the left did to us. They said, okay, you believe in a conservative way, well, we don't want to hear you. And you're a bigot if you speak out for it. So what we're doing is we're offering a voice for the conservatives, and we'd be willing to hear you out if you're on the left. Have a discussion about it.
Now, go ahead.
Oh yeah, we're here to unite America.
Okay, so RFK Jr., he's deceased. However,
No, you're talking about JFK Jr.
Yes, thank you.
RFK is running for president. Jr. is running for president.
Right. So JFK Jr. of course is deceased. However, RFK Jr. and that's what I want to talk about is to get your thoughts on what he's doing, because what's interesting is we've got Donald Trump.
Right.
We put our faith in Donald. We know that he, my supposition is that he just simply was very incredibly ill-advised. Right. So he doesn't necessarily have the information that you have dug out. Right. But now we've got RFK Jr. and RFK Jr.'s slamming Dr. Fauci. So those two kind of angles are meshing a little bit. What do you think? RFK Jr., of course, and that is on the left side of politics.
No.
How do you think?
Well, the bottom line is this: RFK Jr. is a great man. I support Donald Trump. Quite frankly, what would unite America better than a Trump-Kennedy ticket? Of course, other people are talking about that. But my point is, I personally know Donald Trump. I support him. RFK Jr. is a great man, and we'll see what happens later on with that. But the bottom line with it is, many people in America don't align themselves for the most part. Yes, I might vote Republican, but am I Republican? I guess so. I vote Republican. But bottom line is, we
You're a constitutionalist, right? I mean, you're an American.
Yeah.
You're for America and those founding principles.
Absolutely.
And is that what George aims to do, is kind of unite people under?
We want people in America to be united. We do not want it divided again. Quite frankly, and I'm just going to say this, we would even feature some people on the right. And people on the right say, oh, I don't like that person, they're too controversial, whatever. We're saying, hey, we want to invite people to read about them. If you don't like them, don't like them. But we've been trying to actually interview people on the left. We have some later on that will be coming on the left, but we invite the people on the left to come in and tell us their point of view. And that's what we need in America. We need a united America, and that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely amazing. This is the current issue with Trump on it?
Yeah. So this is the current issue. Just go to georgemagazine.com, and you could either read it for free if you want, or buy a subscription, either way.
You're involved in Clay Clark Reawaken tours. You said you're the chief editor? Editor-in-chief of George. What else are you up to, Gene? Are you still practicing your photography?
Actually, that's an interesting question. I haven't in a while.
You prefer Nikon?
I basically stopped doing photography to do this for a while.
So let's back up. You're freedom fighting, right? Can I say that you're freedom fighting by doing this? How do you define this? Is it freedom fighting?
You know what? It is funny because with this thing where people label each other like that, which I understand it. What a dangerous thing in our society. If you call yourself a freedom fighter or they'll take that and they'll go, oh, see, you're fighting. You know what? I'm a freedom uniter. I'm trying to unite America. So that's what I'm trying to do. Take people on the left and the right, and quite frankly, it's even hard on the right to reunite the people on the right. It's so divided. America is divided right now, and we don't need to be. That's all it is. I bet you anything, a lot of people, even on the left, view the same way of things as people on the right. A couple of differences, but hopefully we can agree to disagree and go back to old-fashioned arguments.
Gene, at one point in time, you served the president, you served the country for 2 years. At what point in time did you say and realize, hey, I've got to get my voice heard. People need to be hearing what I'm researching, what I'm finding, what I'm discovering. When did you realize there was something going on in your country?
No, realize this when Donald Trump first said fake news. And I was there when he said it, and I'm like, okay, that's a good joke, haha, it's fake news, but we forget that in America, the media is biased to a certain level the media is so biased, and when they said Donald Trump was a racist, he wasn't a racist. When he said he was all these things, he's not. He's a wonderful person to work for. He's a wonderful president.
You've met him, obviously.
Yeah, I spent 2 years watching him. He's a great guy.
You like him? You don't find him racist at all? Go back to that moment here as we take a few more minutes of the time. Thank you. Go back to that moment when you first heard him say fake news. What was that like?
No, hey, listen. Early on, when they were protesting, I seen it with the cameras, all the news stations that were there, lined up people. You had a auditorium filled with people.
Where was this? D.C.?
No, it was, I forgot, somewhere in the Carolinas early on. A rally full of people, and maybe, I'm going to say 12 to 15 protesters. All the cameras were on the protesters. So much so that the media even said, whoa, not now. Go. This, I get it. We're on camera right now. You got to set it up. We're having an interview. But to set up protesters, where you go to the protesters and say, no, not now. Hold on, let me adjust my camera. Okay, ready, everybody? Now. And they start chanting protest. I saw it with my own eyes. And there's witnesses that saw it. And we've been trying to tell people about what's going on. They won't listen. So, because they don't listen, that is why I have a job doing what I do. Because mainstream media is not presenting to the United States citizens what is really going on. Quite frankly, that's why you have a job and all these other media outlet people have a job. It's not because we push ourselves on people. They don't care. We're here and we have a job because people are thirsting for the truth. That's why you're here. You think you're here because people love you? No, they want to be here because, hey, they can't get the truth from somewhere else. The person
they want to hear people like you speak about what you've experienced.
Yeah.
Who's running George? Outside of you.
Look at that. I thought he was going to tell me to touch my nose. I don't know, this guy. We have a team working with it. It's a very dynamic team. We have another person, Rachel Whiteside-Blonde, who's a managing editor. We have an organization called the Blaze team working on behind the scenes. There's a lot of things going on.
Awesome. As we wind down again for the second time, Gene, thanks for joining the show. I would like you to take a moment and leave with viewers and listeners some final thoughts as you work and do what you're doing. We thank you.
No, it's just like this, guys. Go out there, talk about what you believe, but do not be afraid to talk about what you believe. If you love Jesus Christ and let people know. If you love conservative values, let people know. And quite frankly, if you are a Satanist and you love Satan, let people know. Let people know who you are. I'm not promoting Satanism, but stop pretending to be something that you're not. If you're going to be a Christian and be a strong Christian. Be yourself.
Gino, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Roger. It's a good friend of mine.
Trottier here for Discussion of Truth. We're streaming live through social media and also Citizen Media News. I have an incredibly important guest with me this afternoon. We are at Doral, the Trump National Golf Course. And folks, on the front line are American patriots, such as the gentleman here to my right. Sheriff Lamb, please introduce yourself for listeners and viewers.
Thank you. I appreciate the very generous introduction of incredibly important. I don't know if I'm incredibly important, but I do love America. I'm a patriot. I'm the sheriff of Pinal County, Arizona, which is between Phoenix and Tucson. My county is about 5,400 square miles, 600 employees. We're about the size of the state of Connecticut. Though we are not on the border, we are about 50 to 60 miles off the border. We have a Native American reservation on the south end of our county, which actually extends into Mexico. It's an interesting dynamic, which allows them to come into this country. So we have the cartel pushing human cargo and drugs into our country.
Through this reservation.
Through that reservation, right into my county where they come first. So yeah, it's something we deal with every day on the front lines. We are fighting to not only keep from our communities, but from communities across America.
Fantastic. So, Sheriff, You've got an interesting dynamic that I've not been exposed to, where you've got a Native American parcel of land, a reservation that is transcending an international divide of Mexico and New Mexico. Have you built any type of relationship or camaraderie with the people that are controlling this reservation, whereas you're able to work in that reservation, or they're working for you and keeping eyes out? What type of relationship do you have?
I mean, we have a great relationship with the tribe. We have a great relationship with the tribal police. This is a big reservation that is sparsely habitated. And then you also have a cartel who understands exactly what their resources are and how to overwhelm them as well. And so they're not really equipped to really do anything. And furthermore, they don't really have the ability to enforce immigration law. That's a federal thing. And so we work hand in hand with Border Patrol, our federal partners in that area. We do a lot of aviation. I've got planes, I've got a plane, I've got 3 helicopters, so we do a lot of aviation work with Border Patrol. So yes, we have a good relationship. They're just as frustrated as we are. And then you also have the cartel that intermixes. They'll marry into the tribe. They'll hook up with people from the tribe, which gives them the ability to bring people and drugs into this country. And they have the help of the people that actually live there and know the land very well.
What's the name of the native tribe there?
It's the Tohono O'odham Indian Reservation. Great people. You know, and I honor the sovereignty of that tribal nation. I think it's, I'm always working hard to protect that for them as well. It is what it is. You know, we have to be able to understand where our weak points are, and that is one of the areas where these people will traffic humans and drugs in our country.
Sheriff Lamb, what is the name of the cartel? Are there multiple cartels that you're identifying here? Who are the players, the suspect players here from Mexico?
That's a great question, and it depends on where you're at. You know, you've got the Zetas, you've got Nuevo Jalisco, Nueva Generación, which is Texas typically. What we typically deal with is the Sinaloa cartel. The Sinaloa cartel you might recognize more for El Chapo. But what's happening now is that's fracturing. You're getting more of these young cartel members that are coming up trying to flex their muscle. So that cartel is fracturing more and more, which is creating smaller cartels and more violent cartels, power grabs. But typically what we're dealing with is the Sinaloa cartel.
The Sinaloa cartel. I'm very familiar with that. Many viewers, perhaps some listeners could be as well. What are they mainly trafficking? You've mentioned already what they're trafficking. What is their main focus of trafficking? What are they infiltrating into the United States?
Look, man, if they can make money off of dandelions, they would traffic dandelions in here. But what they unfortunately traffic in here are human beings and drugs.
Sex trafficking?
Sex trafficking,
organ harvesting,
a little bit of everything. Look, if it makes money, they'll do it. The cartel is making as much money off of bodies right now as they are off of drugs. When I say bodies, I mean like bringing somebody to this country illegally. They typically charge about $5,000 to $6,000 to bring somebody here illegally. We've heard that it could be up to $50,000 for a Chinese national or somebody from a terrorist country. So this is something that all Americans should be very aware of. And now you're talking about the drugs that are coming in. It used to be a marijuana corridor. Used to be, a lot more heroin. You still have the heroin. But what's dangerous right now is they're bringing in the synthetics. These are drugs that they can produce 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's your methamphetamines and fentanyl.
Okay, so you are a sheriff in Arizona. Arizona at the moment is a hotbed for investigation in the 2020 election. Sheriff Lamb, what are some comments in regards to being in Arizona, controlling a county, is on the front line? We've got a totally open border here with the president that seems to have no problem with allowing illegal immigrants into the country. That's from my view. I've never spoken to Joe Biden. Tackle those two subjects for a moment, Sheriff, in regards to the open border policy right now, which is totally contradicts what Trump wanted to do in regards to building a wall. We know that. And then your view of being an Arizona resident, what's happening in regards to election fraud in your state?
Two very different questions. First of all, their policies suck. They're not working. It's a disaster. It's creating chaos, not only at the border, but it's creating chaos in this country. It's creating chaos in our communities, and I think it's by design. Initially I would have hoped that this was just ignorance or incompetence. The more I see it, the more I view it every day, the more they refuse to acknowledge it, even though you show them hard facts. You have to start to say, are they doing this on purpose? Are they creating chaos for us in law enforcement on purpose? I think when you talk about rebuilding America, build back better, or reinventing America, that takes destroying it first so that you can reinvent it and build it back better. And when you talk about that, what is the way you have to do it? I talked about it in my speech today. You have to undermine the rule of law. And the way you undermine the rule of law is you create chaos throughout the country for us in law enforcement. And open borders is one of those policies. President Trump's policies were effective, they were working, we were reducing the amount of people coming into this country illegally, the criminals coming into this country illegally. We saw less drugs being brought into this country illegally, so it had a great impact. That's the first part. Now we talk elections. I get this question a lot. People say, well, what do you think about the odds? Here's what I think. I think that there is half of the American people that don't trust the voting process. We owe it to the people of Arizona. We owe it to the people of America to go through that process to restore your faith in the voting process. And then audit is the way to do that. In a perfect world, the audit will show, the results of the audit will show exactly what the results of the election are. But I think all of us have our personal opinions as to whether or not that's going to happen. But an audit does need to be done, and I hope that other states follow suit. I know it's a political hot button, but the people on the left 2 years ago and 4 years ago wanted this as much as the people on the right do now. What that means is Americans, we owe it to the voter. Because the left wanted it, the right wants it. We owe it to the voter to ensure that they believe in the voting process. And I think that's the value of the audit.
I've had an opportunity, Sheriff Lamb, to speak to Sheriff Clark, who's here at this event, and at other events I've spoken to Sheriff Matt. And these are constitutional patriots, Americans that love this country, who simply want to defend their Bill of Rights and their Constitution, and they're doing it on a county level. With that said, Sheriff Lamb, what is happening? You're talking about creating a chaotic atmosphere. Are you saying that the current president is aware that he's creating a chaotic atmosphere and that's his intention? What are you saying here?
I can't say that he's aware because I don't know. I haven't talked to him. All I can say is what I see. So it's either incompetence or ignorance to what's happening,
right, or
it's complicity to these poor policies and allowing this chaos to ensue. That's the two options you're left with. Based on what I've seen, I believe the latter. I believe that they're okay with destroying, undermining the rule of law, causing issues for us. It's just what I see.
It kind of seems like there is indeed a hand above the current president controlling his actions. Have you ever considered and thought that, wait a second, here's Arizona, which used to be part of Mexico. They left the Mexican Union for corruption in the Mexican Union. That former country, because it was its own sovereign country, is called Arizona. It was a republic. You're right next to another former republic, the Lone Star State, Texas. These people on the front line down here on the border, it's not an issue of racism. It's not an issue of Mexico. It's an issue of obeying laws.
That's right. We are a country of laws. You have to obey the law. Okay, we have a process for coming into this country legally. We're asking the people to follow that process. In the meantime, we're left to deal with the consequences of allowing the cartel to traffic people in here, the abuse that those people suffered trying to come to this country illegally. We're also dealing in our communities with the impact of these drugs, these synthetic drugs like fentanyl that are killing our children, our family members. And that is an issue for me. That is my job as a sheriff, to ensure that my community is protected from these types of things. And so we've got to do, that's why sheriffs are standing up together across this country. We started Protect America Now. Hopefully you'll check it out, protectamericanow.com. Sheriffs standing up for the rule of law, standing up against bad policies like what we're seeing on the border, and standing up for the Constitution and the people's constitutional rights. I did an interview and then Vice News, I think it was. I don't know if you ever even heard of it.
I heard of this.
So Vice was like, hey, we got a renegade sheriff out here. He's a constitutional guy, and he's this and that. And I was reading through this article, and I'm like, it's actually not a bad article. They were trying to bash me, but in the end, they were saying that I was following the Constitution. I was a constitutional sheriff.
Okay.
And my first response was, did all of us elected officials not take the same oath to protect and defend the Constitution? Should every elected official not be a constitutional elected official? That is the oath we swore. Not an oath to increase funding, not an oath to open border policies, not an oath to promote politics, whether it's Republican or Democrat. We swore an oath to protect the Constitution and the people of our community. I take it serious, so they tried to bash me for something that I took as a compliment. You can call me all day long a constitutional sheriff, because that's exactly what I swore an oath to when I got elected as sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff Lamb. Now let's get real quick. I want you to answer this question. I was fortunate enough in 2015 to listen to not yet President Trump say if he ran for president, he would do so as an independent self-finance. We heard him right here in this ballroom in 2015. When he got into presidency, he started talking about fake news and deep state. Dude, we had 8 years of Obama. I never heard Obama mention either one of those phrases. Trump got into office. That really kind of startled a lot of Americans. What's going on? What is the deep state in your view? What is this? From a constitutional sheriff.
I don't know that that's a question we can answer right here.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. What I think where we're at in this country and this world is you have people that want to control your life. I think it's more bigger than just an American thing. We are very myopic as Americans. We think only in America, we only think of ourselves, and it's a problem with our culture. We have to start looking at the impact this is having on a global level, and where there are people globally that want to control the world. They want to control your daily life. They think they can do it better. They can control all the money, and America stands in the way of that. America is the last bastion of freedom. And so you're feeling the effects of the strength of the global movement, that push. And I would break it down to even something more simple, because I'm a Christian man. I believe that this is a battle between good and evil. And the only way to beat the good, win this battle out, is we've got to get a little bit more God back in us. I believe that the Constitution of the United States is a God-given document that has God's stamp of approval on it. And in the end, it will win the day. It will survive. But we need to restore those same founding principles that the founding fathers had. And it's not about race, it's not about culture, it's not about any of those things. This is about doing what's best for America and the American people.
You're a sheriff in a county in a very important state. All states are important. What makes your role as sheriff a little bit different from that of the governor in Arizona?
Sheriff's a lot cooler.
Yeah, you're a cool guy.
I get to carry a gun every day and a badge.
The governor can't?
It's very different. So sheriff is probably the most important position, in my opinion, for saving America. Sheriffs are your last bastion of freedom. We're the ones that are going to be able. People always say to me, they say, well, Sheriff, I can't believe you talk like that. You're government. And I say, I'm not government. I'm your county sheriff. I was elected to protect you from bad guys and from government overreach. So my job is to ensure that the government does not overstep their bounds. And so I feel like...
That's what you tell people.
Yeah. So like the governor, he can only get done what the legislature and the Senate is willing to do.
Right.
I don't have that. I don't legislate. My job is to protect the community. I don't have a boss. I don't have people that tell me what I can and can't do. That's the people. And the people tell me that. I listen and go spend time in those communities, and I do that. So I think that the office of sheriff, I've done the best I can to promote it. I started something called the American Sheriff Network, and that's live PD and cops. Those things were taken off the air. They took our voice away. That deep state, that mainstream media, they started dictating the narrative of what they wanted people to think of police. And so what we tried to do is bring that back, and hopefully your viewers will check it out. AmericanSheriff.com. It's the American Sheriff Network. It is a subscription site because we don't want them to cancel us. and we don't want to you'd have to pay for ads. And we're promoting sheriffs from across this country. So AmericanSheriff.com. You can also get my book there. There's a shameless plug right there. American Sheriff, Traditional Values in a Modern World. I think we've gotten away from traditional values. I think we've gotten away from God. I think we've gotten away from the strength of America. And we just got to get back to it. We'll be fine, but we just got to refocus ourselves.
Who are some of the sheriffs as we wind down here? Who are some of the sheriffs across the country? As you tackle your county in Arizona, who are some of the sheriffs that you'd like? I've mentioned a couple. Are there any other sheriffs that you'd like listeners to pay attention to as they kind of understand the role of the sheriff and how the sheriff can protect them?
Oh man, there's a lot. I can tell you some of the sheriffs that are involved with ProtectAmericaNow.com, and that's Sheriff Wayne Ivey from Brevard County, Florida. We've got Scott Jenkins from up in Virginia. We've got Tony Childress out in Illinois. We've got Sheriff Jim Arnoff from Greene County, Missouri. We've got Mike Lewis from Salisbury, Maryland, which is Wycomico County, Maryland. I know I'm leaving somebody out, but we've got a lot of good sheriffs. I know you're on a time crunch. There are a ton of good sheriffs that are fighting every day for the people. They understand the role of the sheriff and the importance of it. So people can take a courage and faith in knowing that there's good men out there filling that gap right now.
Fantastic. And ladies and gentlemen, Sheriff Lamb, Arizona, just some final words, some final thoughts for viewers to walk away with. What would you like as America? America seems like it is at a divide, perhaps a tipping point of some sort. We have a chaotic atmosphere being created. You've said it here, open borders. But you're bringing a sense of comfort,
yeah,
I think. And so, what would you like listeners
to talk
with?
When you become a cop, you have to learn how to control chaotic situations. We go into call after call after call every day where chaos is there. And you got that old cop smoking a cigarette in the corner that just doesn't seem to be phased. Well, it's because he's learned to control that chaos. And so my advice to Americans is don't get caught up in controlling an outcome that you cannot control. So surrender the outcome, because anxiety, depression, anger comes from trying to control an outcome that you can't control. You can control your attitude, your work output, maybe your household, maybe your job if you own a company. Those are things you can control. And do that. Control those. I always share a quote from a book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. If you haven't read it, it's great. It's like 50 pages. But as soon as you read American Sheriff, Traditional Values in the Modern World, then you can read As a Man Thinketh. But it says, keep your hand firmly upon the helm of thought. In the bark of your soul reclines the commanding master. He does but sleep. Wake him. Self-control is strength. Right thought is mastery. Calmness is power. Say into your heart, peace be still. Don't get caught up in the chaos. Control what you can control. And trust that this process will work it out. If you're a Christian, you know how this story ends. And evil does not prevail. So it's just a matter of digging in, biting down on your mouthpiece, taking the shots, and getting in the fight. And that's really what it's about.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sheriff Lamb. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. God bless.